You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I've started watching this YouTube page called The Critical Drinker, right?
Okay.
Amazing. You gotta watch it. He just does like breakdowns of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. He's a Scottish guy. He's fucking awesome. His videos are fantastic, and he just highlights fucking the problems with them all. And you're right. Listen, this day and age, we want to see equal opportunities for everybody and all the rest of it. And and I'm all for it. I really am. But I also want a little bit of realism in my movies. And when you're taking a 90-pound girl who's fucking taking on 5 or 6 dudes that weigh 230 pounds and they knock them out with one shot each, it's just like, my brain just says, that's it, I'm done. I can't watch this. This is fucking nonsense.
I watched something last night about this woman, Amanda Serrano, who is like a hardcore badass female boxer.
Oh, I know Amanda Serrano. She's fucking sensational.
Yeah, dude.
No, she's sensational.
Yeah, no, taking nothing away from her at all. Probably, from what I saw, maybe the best female combat sports athlete of all time, including all the chicks in the UFC. But she fought a dude one time. And do you know what happened when she fought a dude?
Did she get fucked up?
Hard body by a dude who like wasn't ranked, fucking Muay Thai fighter from like Australia or some shit. Beat the brakes off this girl, and it wasn't even fair.
First of all, who's sanctioning that fight? Secondly, the guy could have taken it easy on her, but that's the problem. That's why I never sparred with women. You know, I just had a thing. Number one, I don't want to spar with a woman. Call me sexist, call me an old-fashioned pig. I'm really not. I'm trying to get ready for a fight. And I always wanted, when I was in a room and I was sparring, I would always I'd always want the toughest partner because you want to get pushed. And if you go with a woman, obviously, you know, you got to pull it back. You got to tippy-tap, tap-tap, tippy-tap, tap-tap. But they're going, coming at you 100%, taking liberties, you know. Don't make me backhand you, you know what I mean? Don't make me do this, you know. So I'm just going to take myself out of that situation. No, going back to the thing, yeah. Like when you see a skinny young, like, listen, I get it. It's a bit of fantasy and whatnot, but if it's a movie that's in the tone of it wants to be taken serious, and I'm seeing a woman take out 5 guys, you know what I mean? And by the way, the guys have got machine guns. 5 guys with machine guns and knives, and a woman with a bare fist is taking them out. And yeah, I'm like, I can't do this any longer.
It's never barehanded. It's always a stick. You notice women always have a stick. A woman with a stick cannot be defeated in a movie. She'll like trip a guy and then hit him with the stick and then take his gun and now he's done. Women with sticks are undefeated in movies.
Yeah, but that's
the same thing. Maybe she has a sword. Usually they have swords.
But that's the way it's going now, isn't it? All the heroes or heroines, which is great. I like to see everyone getting a crack of the whip, but maybe just write it a little better. You know what I mean? Maybe they could some other way. You know, they don't have to engage in hand-to-hand combat with fucking mercenaries. You know what I mean? I'd have a real hard time with 5 fucking mercenaries, right? Not bragging. I'm a pretty tough guy. I can look after myself. I'd favor myself against most people on planet fucking Earth. 5 mercenaries? I'm on my bike. I'm running like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck this. I'm done. Give me the car keys or the fucking card, what I need for a Tesla, and I'm accelerating out of there with no sound whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Chael Sonnen would have fought those 5 guys.
Oh! Yeah, but they weren't mercenaries. They were pussies. Mm-hmm. They were pussies, Brian. Where was I going with that? No, who cares? We've said our piece. All right, what's up, all you do-it-yourself guys who work on your own cars? I'm here to tell you about rockauto.com, the online store with every auto part at the best prices. This is your one-stop shop for everything auto parts. RockAuto.com has been in business for 20 years, and they make it easy to find the parts that you need at the best possible prices. So, no more talking to counter guys who need to order your parts. They're not really sure what you're looking for, and they never have quite what you need. And then after all that hassle, they still charge you the storefront markups. At rockauto.com, you can easily find everything you need. And whether you're a mechanic, an auto shop, or you just work on your own car, everybody has access to the same incredible pricing at rockauto.com. rockauto.com. So listen, if you you like to work on your car at the weekend, you're opening up the hood, as they say. I'll get slapped for all the English people for saying that. We say bonnet. If you know your way around a car, if you want to learn, if you want parts, you want to fucking tinker with some spanners at the weekend, rockauto.com is where you need to go, because they have literally everything that you need. And if you know about the pricing, you will be amazed when you go to rockauto.com, because it is so goddamn cheap. And by the way, no promo code, because the pricing is already that good. Now, when you order, please make sure to tell rockauto.com that you heard about them right here on the Believe You Me podcast. One more time, rockauto.com for the cheap car parts, conveniently sent to you. I don't know how big they are, but rockauto.com will have you, and you'll be blown away by the prices. Anyway, let's get back into it. Where were we? What else we got, Harrington?
Well, let's see here. We are almost an hour into this show. Do you want to start going through the categories by any chance for the BYM Awards?
Yeah, okay. Let me see. I'll bring them up so you know. So obviously, guys, it is the end of the year. And it is kind of like old hat at this point. Everyone does this, but we're also going to do it. So there you go.
There's no UFC events for a month. We're doing this.
There isn't. Yeah, exactly. We need content. We need things to discuss, things to talk about, to fucking get used to it. So, Fighter of the Year. And I think, so our nominations, and we want to hear from you, Harrington, you're going to handle the Twitter poll.
On it.
Which means it's not going to get done. Great.
Oh, stop that.
Yeah. So the choices are Rose Namajunas, Juliana Pena, Kamaru Usman, Charles Oliveira, Valentina Shevchenko, Cyril Gane, Bilal Mohammed, and Islam Makhachev. I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to say there's too many choices there.
Yeah, so
That's a long list.
It's a long. I love the way Brian just comes in like that. What we're going to do is we're going to eradicate. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to eradicate that down to 4 right now. Right now. Yes. Between the three of us, Rose Namajunas 2-0 this year. She stays in. Juliana Pena 2-0. She doesn't stay in. Listen, did she go 2-0 this year? I know she beat Nunes. Who else did she beat?
I want to say I'm not gonna put a loss on anybody who I cannot confirm. I'm just pulling up her thing right now. Was it Sarah?
No, it was Sarah McMahon.
Sarah McMahon, yes.
Yeah. Sarah McMahon and Amanda Nunes. Nunes is the big one. I don't know. It just for me. Kamaru Usman 3-0, sensational fucking year, pound for pound, the top of the list. You cannot not have that guy in the discussion. Cyril Gane, oh God, Shevchenko 2-0, Cyril Gane 3-0. Bilal Mohammed, love Bilal. I don't think he's in contention for Fighter of the Year. So I'm making an executive decision. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. Bilal's gone. Remember the name though. Islam Makhachev. I think he stays. Oh God, Cyril Gane. We'll take Cyril out. Because he's fighting next week or next month. Lots to talk about there. Charles Oliveira, he has to be in there. Come on.
Certainly.
He has to be in. Well, I'll give you my 4. You give your 4. Brian, you give your 4. Okay? I say Usman, Oliveira,
isn't it?
Makhachev, Namajunas. Go ahead.
So when I did I actually sent you like my 4 whittled down. I have Rose, Juliana, Usman, and Oliveira.
It's a very 50-50 list you got there. Brian? 2 and 2, even Stevens.
Okay.
Equal opportunities, you know?
Sure.
So me and Mike actually talked about this when we were breaking down the list, and I think those 4 are pretty fair to say, except for I would probably take out Rose and put Cyril Gane because he won at least half a title this year, and Rose has won a title before this year.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that does hold some merit, but still, okay. Well, you put out the Twitter poll on that one, Harrington. Fight of the Year: Holloway Rodriguez, Gagey Chandler, Costa Vittori, Volkanovski Ortega, Reyes Prohaska, Ponzinibbio Baeza, Sandhagen Jan, Burgos Barboza. Okay, and that is not a crazy language I'm speaking, Burgos Barbosa. I mean, Jesus Christ. Those first 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all good.
Yeah.
They were amazing fights. Holloway Rodriguez has to be in there.
Sure.
Gagey versus Chandler has to be in there. I mean, that's going to be a front runner for the fight of the year.
To me, it's between those two.
Paulo Costa, Marvin Vittori. Fucking hell. Oh, shout out Marvin Vittori, by the way. I was with him on
Christmas
Eve.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
Hell yeah.
Maybe that's where we picked up the Rona. Who knows? Then we went to this beautiful restaurant, Quattro, South Coast Plaza. Shout out Dominico. And Marvin was there. Sat with us. We had some wine. We had some food. Great guy. Anyway, that was a sick fight, though, he had with Paulo Costa. That was fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely incredible.
Volkanovski, Ortega. I mean,
I think that's my pick for fight of the year, maybe. That was
it's an embarrassment of riches. That's the problem. They're all so good.
Yeah, absolutely incredible list to fight this year's. And then, you haven't even gotten to, in my mind, what all four are the also-rans. Reyes Prohaska, Ponzinibbio Baez, Sandhagen, Jan, and Burgos first.
Ponzinibbio Baeza, do you know what I mean? Flies under the radar because both guys, they're not the, it's not a Holloway or it's not a Gagey Chandler, who the lightweight division, they've very much been in the limelight this year, but Ponzinibbio and Miguel Baeza, that was a sick fight. Anyway, so I'll allow you to put that on Twitter. Knockout of the year. Kamaru Usman of Masvidal. Rose head kicking Zhang. Sandhagen flying Frankie. Balmondes spinning wheel kick Roosevelt Robs. Ngannou knocking out Stipe. Prohaska spinning elbow in Reyes. Derek Lewis uppercutting Curtis Blades into next year. And Dustin Poirier becoming the first man to knock out McGregor in January. Is that the first time McGregor got knocked out, even though he swears he wasn't knocked out?
Yeah, I believe every one of his other defeats was either decision or submission.
Yes, sir. I think this is an easy choice, to be honest. It's Yuri Prohaska knocking fucking Dominic Reyes' head right off of his shoulders.
Well, that it just gets fucking style points as well, doesn't it? It was a double elbow attack.
Really
the one being a spinning elbow, and Yuri Prohaska is just fucking awesome, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
He's a maniac. I love that dude.
I love it, and it was funny because when we had on Rakic, I think he was trying to. Was he alluding to the fact that he thinks it's all a bit of an act from
Prohaska?
He's not actually like a lunatic.
Yeah, well, no, he was saying, he claims to be a samurai and this and that, but it's all just. I think he's. Am I imagining this? He said something along those lines, right?
I feel like there's something lost in translation there, right? Like, I don't think Yuri actually thinks he's a sword carrying samurai.
I don't believe that Yuri thinks that he's a samurai from 700 years ago in Japan with a katana blade, walking around with a kimono on, slaying people with a samurai sword.
A lot of illusion going on, and not everybody's picking it up.
Yeah, no, I think he's trying to say he lives by the samurai code, which again, just look that up. What is the
So I have the quote here.
Of the samurai code, because a lot of people say, I live by that code. So what is the samurai code? Because I guarantee they fucking don't.
It's called Bushido.
Oh, Bushido, the way of the warrior.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
I mean. So I have Rakic's quote here. About Yuri, I cannot take this clown seriously. I don't care about him. My focus is on Jan Blachowicz and March 26th, and I don't care about this guy. He did say, though, for sure I'm going to fight him in the future. We're both young. We're at the top of the division. He's going to probably fight against Glover. I still don't know when they're going to fight. I don't care, basically. But for sure, we're going to fight someday. But for now, close the book on the guy. I don't care about him and the fake samurai shit that he's doing and just focusing on Jan Blachowicz.
Oh, there it is, the fake samurai shit. Okay, so I totally just added bits on through my own imagination. But hey, it's a podcast. We're trying to fill time. Let's go. Submissione of the year, Fluffy Hernandez, Rodolfo Vieira. Guillotine, just more shock value, really, that one. Marquez over Maki Pitolo. Yes, Brian?
Oh, I was just coming in for this.
Yeah, no, please stay. You're welcome. Mikasa Sukasa, even though you're in control. Vincente Luque Dors over Woodley. Andre Muniz breaking Jacare's arm. Mateus Gamrot beating Jeremy Stevens. That was a Kimura. Brandon Moreno choking out Figueiredo for the gold. Pena of Amanda Nunes. And Islam arm triangle from half guard, against Drew Dober, which is weird. I don't know. I'm going to say
this is another easy pick.
I'm eradicating off the bat Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm being a hater on Juliana there. I'm not. What she did this year was incredible, and God bless her, and I'm really happy for her. I don't know her, you know what I mean? But how could you not be happy for her? Such an underdog to come through like that and do so well. But from a submission standpoint, from a technical standpoint, that submission wasn't shit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's because she was tired. Nunes was exhausted, and she was tired because Pena made her tired, because Pena put a pace in her, because Pena beat her up. You know what I mean? That's why she was so exhausted and looking for a way out. But the hooks weren't in. It was, she capitalized on the sequence of events, on her being tired and her being beat up and the doubt creeping in. But it wasn't like a jiu-jitsu purist would look at that and go, wow, that's the submission of the year.
Well, here's the thing. Juliana Pena came out this week, right, and defended what she calls her not regular rear naked choke and dares anyone to try and stand up to her. She says, that's the second time I finished the fight with that rear naked choke. I finished Sarah McMahon with it in January. It's something that is not a regular rear naked choke. I know a lot of people want to discredit me, but people say that I didn't have my hooks in, it wasn't real, and she's just happy because she quit. I guarantee you, maybe one day you can take me up on this, or any of your listeners, if any of them want to come to my house and let me put that choke on you, I guarantee that you're going to tap as well, and I guarantee they'll be able to feel that force and pressure that I was putting on Amanda.
I guarantee we did a GoFundMe. We did a GoFundMe for either one of you to go to Juliana Pena's house. You would be very up to go and be choked out by Juliana.
I volunteer as tribute. I will.
Merry Christmas, guys, because I'm fucking your plane tickets to fucking wherever it is. Washington, I think, Spokane or somewhere like that she trains.
Dude, that'd be pretty sick.
Yeah, no, listen, of course she's going to defend that. Maybe she does. Maybe she does finish people like that. She looks to be very strong, But as I say, and then God bless, maybe it's modified. And it's weird because martial arts is like that. Certain things that don't look like they work, for some reason, some people, they just work. Like look at it's a legit technique, but what's he called? Is it Alexander Olenek? Who has
the Ezekiel.
Alexia Olenek with the Ezekiel. He's got about fucking 5,000 Ezekiel chokes. Do you know what I mean? You're not supposed to get that many.
It's wild.
OSP with the Von Preux choke, they call it.
The Von Preux. Do you see? You know, certain people just have a way of making certain positions work for them, and they can do it. You know what I mean? But still, that ain't the sub of the year. But still, whittle it down.
I think this is a pretty easy one as well. Amanda Nunes with the reverse mounted triangle. I think that
Megan
gets
Anderson?
it. Yeah, on Megan Anderson.
Oh, is that on there?
It's not. I put it on for when I sent you like the revised list. So I'll put that. I can put that on
I mean, we're not saying. All right, okay. Breakthrough fighter of the year, Julian Marquez. I was going to say no. Islam Makhachev.
Maybe.
I'm going to say potentially. Bilal Muhammad had a great year, definitely more at the forefront of people's names. By the way, I wasn't dismissing Julian Marquez, but I just looking at the names on this list, he wouldn't be at the top of it. No disrespect. Erin Blanchfield. You can tell Harrington's done this list. Is Macy Barber on there as well? Any girl that fucking Harrington has the half hots for, he just sticks them in there.
Okay,
right?
I mean,
whoa, that sounded weird.
Pretty good year.
Anyway, Erin Blanchfield, Tom Aspinall. I think, how many fights did Tom have this year? Was it 2 or 3?
I believe it was 2 for Tom.
3?
I think it was 2. Let me double check.
Yeah, no, I think it's only 2. Sergey Spivak in there. It might have been Arlovsky as well.
And Arlovsky, back in February.
Cyril Gahn, of course. Juliana Pena, absolutely. Chris Curtis. I mean, Chris Curtis came out of the blue, and he finished the last 2 months in fucking style. 2 great knockouts, November and December concurrently, so consecutively. Yeah, tough one that off the top of my head, dog. Islam Makhachev, he's got to be a front runner for that one. This time next year, I don't believe, last year, pardon me. I don't think we're all singing his praises quite as much as we are now.
What about Kamzat?
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
I would consider last year his breakthrough year.
Oh. Oh, no, you're right. He probably got it last year, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I think it was between him and Kevin Holland last year. Hamzat had the 3 wins last year. Kevin Holland had 4 or 5, I want to say. Something insane like that. So.
I'm assuming Hamzat is in the performance of the year, though. One would like to think. Anyway, moving on. Best comeback nominations. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Great comeback. Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira. Alice Caceres versus Song-Won Choi. Clay Guida versus Leonardo Santos. Gerald Meerchart versus Mahmoud Marudov. Merab Dvalishvili versus Marlon Moraes. Kennedy Nzikowi versus Carlos Olberg. And Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo. That's my reading out nominations for the Golden Globes voice. Okay,
that works. That works. I mean,
new voiceovers for the next episode.
Yeah. Oh, what's this made-up nonsense at the bottom of the list, Harrington? The Jorge Masvidal Resurrection Award.
I literally said that to you.
No. This is dope.
Guy?
What is this nonsense?
What the fuck is this?
I think
Liberties being taken all over the place.
Okay.
Know your place. Don't make me
Wild.
beat you back into your place. Harrington?
Wouldn't be that hard. I'm not making you do anything. I think that it is cool. We've had the Michael Bisping Spirit Award since the inception of this. We added the.
It should still be the Michael Bisping Spirit Award.
There is. That is on here. I mean, wasn't gonna hit you up for your own award. That seems crazy. We have the Luke Rockhold Conceive, Believe, Achieve Award, and to me, it made the most sense to add the Jorge Masvidal Resurrection Award for the fighter that resurrected their career the most this year.
All right. Well, I like your explanation, and it's a worthy award category. And the nominations are Clay Guida, Julian Marquez, Glover Teixeira, Ricky Glenn, Misha Tate, Chris Curtis, Gerald Meerchart, and Jose Aldo. Resurrected your career. Do you have anyone else, Brian, that should have been in that one? Who's resurrected their career? There's been some good resurrections. Some people coming back from the brink of disaster and cuttery and retirement.
Aldo?
He's on there.
Yeah, that's pretty much who I got in my head for this. I mean, I thought he was gonna be all the way out last year.
Yeah, it's amazing what Aldo's doing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's wild.
Never, count that man out. Life in the old dog yet.
I got one that I didn't put on here, but I feel like should be getting some consideration. What about the blonde one, Derek Brunson?
Hey, blonde Brunson has been on fire. How many
Right?
wins this year? I know he had Till, he had Edmund Shabazian.
Till and Kevin Holland were this year. Shabazian was last year.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, certainly with the wins over Holland and Till, this is a guy who, was looked at for a long time, I hate to use this phrase, but as a gatekeeper. And now, he's certainly within the mix, fighting, if I'm not mistaken, Jared Cannonier, who's ranked number 3 in the division. So
Yeah. No. Absolutely. All right.
Nice
Okay.
day, isn't it?
That's the nominations. Put them on Twitter. We'll come back with the results on Monday. Put some polls up. And I guess in the meantime,
category with Macy Barber in it, which is hottest female fighter, because
we do
Mike
normally
Harrington
do
is a
that.
simp.
We do normally do that. It's getting, as this world is becoming more and more woke, it's fucking ridiculous. Sexist pigs will be called. I don't give a fuck. Chuck it in there.
Hey, we're doing men too.
yeah, we do men too.
Oh, who we having in the sexiest men category? Harrington. Who are the men that immediately come to your mind?
So Michael Bisping,
Stop it. Brian, who floats your boat?
Well, Paula Costa, right? The ladies like Paula
Hey.
Costa.
He's a handsome devil. He's a handsome. Did you see how Paulo Costa was in the news recently? Not the news. It was all over his Instagram. I think it might have made TMZ or something. He was thrown off a flight. Did you see that?
No.
No.
But I'm gonna look for it right now. Hold on.
Yeah. It was on his Instagram. He got thrown off a plane, and he was sitting in the terminal waiting for the next one. He was going on. He's talking about suing the airline and stuff like that. Claims he didn't do anything wrong.
Kind of reminds me of somebody else I know.
History tells me there's no smoke without fire. No. Hey, fuck off. You talking about me?
What? I mean, maybe Paulo Costa ran into the guy with the Oakleys. You don't know.
Yeah, it was fuck that guy, number one. And I'm still waiting to hear back from Southwest Airlines. Still, because they called me up. Southwest Airlines called me up and they said, yeah, we're taking this matter very serious. And I said to them, well, yeah, do me a favor. I said, number one, don't tell me that there's not cameras at the boarding the check-in area. Don't tell me that. Not the check-in, where you board the plane. The gate.
Yeah.
I said, don't tell me there's not a camera there, okay? Because I know for a fact, for security, there will be a camera, okay? I said, and then look at that. As you will see that I said to him, nice shades. I like the way you're on your head. I said, and then he threw me off. I said, I'm willing to pay for a lip reading expert That's what I said. I said, I am not lying. I am not exaggerating. That's what I said. And he chose to throw me off a plane. Okay? I said, don't you worry, sir. But this was about 6 weeks ago now. Never called me back. Thank you for reminding me. If anybody knows a good lip reading expert out there, hit me up on Twitter. Hey, it's New Year's Eve tomorrow. By the time this comes out, it will be New Year's Eve. I hope everybody goes out there, has a glorious time. Whatever you do, enjoy yourself, be happy, spend your time with loved ones, and make 2022 count. You know, that is my advice to everyone. Go out there, enjoy yourself. If you want to make yourself a better version of yourself, I do. I'm making some big changes in my life. We all do. And listen, people scoff at New Year's resolutions all the time. You know, people scoff at them. I don't know fucking why. At least you got the intentions. At least you want to make yourself a little bit better. At least you realize in some, because I do. I know I've got plenty of fucking shortcomings and lots of areas in my life where I need to improve. And then every year I say, okay, I'm going to try and make some changes, you know, and maybe you fail. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you fall at the first fucking hurdle. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But all I'm saying is I'm trying to stop drinking in the new year. I'm having a beer for the Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve show. But lots of other things. But we'll talk about that on the next one because I'm sure, Harrington, don't tell me that you've got nothing that you want to improve.
Dude, my life, look at where I was a year ago and look at where I'm at now, man. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and certainly I feel like I took the ball and ran with it this year. So
No, you've done fantastic, man. It has been incredible to watch you grow, and you've done a fantastic job as co-host on here. Brian, as well, I want to thank you as well. Show yourself on the screen for another tremendous year doing the Believe You Me podcast. Wouldn't be the same without you guys. Of course, the believers as well. But, Brian, what would you say? You hear me? Listen, you know, I've done all right in life. I'm sitting here. I'm being humble. I'm saying I need to change many things. I need to get better. I need to grow as a person on the inside, on the outside. We can all evolve. We can all get better. But there's fucking Hamilton proclaiming to be the perfect male, the perfectly evolved human. What do you say to that, Brian?
I feel like our text message threads would say something different than that. But that's okay. I appreciate the work that he does when he does it correctly. No, I'm just fucking with you. He does a pretty good job. I think Mike's all right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, on that note, we'll say goodbye. But Brian and Harrington, want to thank you personally for all your hard work, your effort. All you believers out there, thank you for continuing to support the show. It means a lot to all of us. And we will be back on Monday with the first show of 2022. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. All the best. Until then, fuck off.
Hello! If you're someone who wants to escape the traditional way of working, or you simply want
answer them on Thursdays right here at youtube.com/Luke Thomas. Without further ado, let's get the party started because we got we got a couple of announcements worth paying attention to, and then we'll get to all of your questions. All right, so without further ado, let's go. And we're back. Okay. So I bought this. I got the Monster Energy Ultra Fiesta mango. Is there something known as party mango? Does this make me like am I a influencer now because I'm drinking Monster? There's no sponsorship. I'm just trying out all the different energy drinks to see which ones I like the most. Ooh. I mean, that's horrible. Right? That's horrible, but does have a lot of caffeine. All right. A couple of announcements. So this is the last live chat of the year. What about next year? Now, this was a strange year for this channel because for I think, if not half, maybe even the majority of the year, it sat dormant. It was not active. You were not here. I was not here. No one was here. It was empty, but we decided to at least get the ball rolling. I'm not satisfied with where the channel is now, but I am at least satisfied that we're back in rotation. There have been a lot of changes I have sort of telegraphed and anticipated and whatnot, and most of them are not in motion yet because I didn't really understand exactly what my channel needed to not just be back operating, but, you know, to be of value to the average person who might subscribe. And it just seems to me, I'm not entirely sure about this, but it just seems to me, and I've had some talks with some friends about it, they seem to think that this is the right thinking, so I'm going to share it with you. I think I have to get out of my house. I think I need to get a separate recording space outside of here. The great part about where I'm at right now, you guys can't see it, but on the other side of this camera is about half of a room, 2/3 of a room that used to be my bedroom. That is no longer my bedroom, obviously, but it is... Everything I have is set up on wheels, except for the desk that I have. Everything else is on wheels. The TV's on wheels. The camera's, the tripod is on wheels. The lectern is on. Everything's on wheels, so that I can move it around in a tiny space. Right? You might be like, how do you record in that space? The answer is I have everything on wheels, so that when I'm not using it for that particular thing, I just push everything up against the wall, and then I have tape measures on, and then tape marks on the floor, and then I bring everything back to where it's supposed to go, right? So that's the way it's done. And it's not super laborious, but when you add in that, plus all the other things I have to do, and then you guys see how many technical errors get made along the way, the problem ends up being I have this like accordion life where I have to set everything up from scratch and then tear everything down and then set everything up and tear everything down. It can be done when I've got a little bit more time to devote to it, but as it stands, it is a backbreaker. On top of that, getting another person in the studio with me outside of my house means they can go there anytime they want. They can shoot, they can edit, they can just pull things off of my plate that I currently have to do. So I was really influenced by the Schmo, seeing his place in Las Vegas. He's got this entire rental property that he got for a fucking steal. I mean, it's still got a little bit of a cost to it, obviously, but for what he gets for the price, I was like, wow, dude, you are killing it out here. And you know, he just leaves parts of his studio untouched. So then when they have a guest come through, they just flick the lights on, turn the cameras on, double check. They have a producer who comes in with them, and then they're off and running. It's just everything is turnkey. I don't have turnkey at all. I need someone who not only can have a situation where everything is set up in advance, but that it's left that way. It is almost always that way, and that someone else can pick up not all, but many of the other duties that go along with it, so that I can come in there, record, and leave, or you know, something along those lines. Over time, that's the goal. Can't do that here. Having someone be able to go to a separate space without me to help me I don't know how to get to where I want to go without that. Candidly, I don't know how we advance. So my hope is first quarter of next year, maybe even as early as February. I want to be in a different space for these. I want to have a little bit of office space, which you can imagine it's not cheap necessarily here, but there is so much of it that is not being used that actually the prices, if you look around, are not too bad. So we're going to do that. I'm going to give that a try. I'm going to see if that works. You know, it's funny. 2 of the places that have available office space are in 2 buildings that I quit jobs to go full-time in MMA. So it might be fun going back and being like, oh, I remember when I was just I was working on this floor as a way just to get to where I'm at today. Now I'm back full circle, except situations changed a little bit. That might be a little bit fun. We'll see. We'll see how things go. So that's the big one I'm going to do. And then, yeah, the other part is I got another guy who's helping me, in some smaller capacities right now. But the goal is to get a bit of a team behind me working to make the channel go where I want it to go. And where, frankly, I think it needs to go and where it can go. So that's the plan. That's the plan. I'm going to get out of here, I think. I'm going to keep this desk here. I'm going to keep this stuff here probably just to have a setup at home as well so that I can do MK or even broadcasting for post shows or whatever. But I am going to get my own separate recording space out in town. It'll be small. It'll be I can't afford anything more than an office for 2 people, but should be enough.
Ava makes
should be
bold
enough.
choices.
So we'll see how that goes. All right. You guys have also asked, what about the uploads to the podcast? Yeah, I don't have an excuse for you, but pretty confident today will go up. Okay, with that out of the way. Okay, first question. The commentary team has faced a lot of criticism this year. These critics include Dominic Cruz, Sean O'Malley, and MMA reporters. How much responsibility does UFC have for the criticism that the commentary team is facing? Well, I mean, they hire and select them, if that's what you mean. They have released broadcasters like Jimmy Smith and Todd Grisham in exchange for fighters who may have personality but don't have as much experience as professional broadcasters. All right, so there's a few things working here that they're all not related, or at least somewhat related. Working backwards, I think Todd Grisham's a phenomenal commentator. DAZN lucked out with him. I've worked with him a little bit through CBS Sports. Obviously, he's done great work with Glory. I guess his tryout didn't work with UFC. They didn't like him for whatever reason. That's just the way the industry goes. But, he had his shot. It didn't work, and he's got other projects. Jimmy Smith, they hired away and then let go because he had no history in the organization, which I just find to be... It's their broadcast, it's their company, it's their ethos. It doesn't matter what I think, but I'm just like, dude, why would you get rid of a prodigious talent like that? WWE, dude, Jimmy Smith is so good that Jimmy Smith didn't even really watch all that much pro wrestling before getting into that as a commentator and has already thrived. It's like, why did you let him go? Like, on what planet does that make sense? Okay, they have their own ways. That's a separate situation from what Dominic Cruz has said, which is that DC doesn't do enough prep. He probably thinks that DC might not be the only one. Sean O'Malley's criticisms, I'm not too sure, and MMA reporters. Right, but MMA reporters have a lot of different criticisms. These are all not the same thing. Some don't like Daniel Cormier. Some find him to be too chummy. Some love Daniel Cormier. Some love the fact that he's very chummy. Some don't like Dominic Cruz. They find him too dry. Some love him. Some don't like the fact that the UFC broadcast has basically always been a place where they kind of whitewash things and, they don't allude to beefs they've started with their own fighters, and then they, gloss over other things in the interest of protecting the UFC brand. But that's always been that way. It's always been that's not new. These are not the first guys. I mean, you could be mad at it. So I'm not talking anyone out of liking that. If you don't like that, that's fine, but it's hardly new. These are not the architects of this. These current these current commentators. So, I mean, I think here's a couple of the problems that might unite some of this a little bit. I mean, these are broad strokes. But one is that someone is making it's interesting. Someone is making personnel decisions that I think are quite good and then also quite limited. Like the fact that it's been, somewhat pulling teeth to get Laura Senko a more prominent role seems idiotic. I mean, I grant that the person who has enough foresight to put her in the position she's in now clearly understands something more than most folks. Fair enough. But I don't quite get that. So that's a weird one. But the basic gist is that the UFC has a particular ethos. They have a particular look and a sound that they like. They like high energy. They like positive enthusiasm. And these are things that a lot of people in the industry like, of course. But they like the brand being very well protected. They don't like a focus on anything, any kind of storyline that gets between the brand and the promoter, which you'll note if you watch boxing broadcasts, particularly the HBO boxing broadcasts back in the day with Lampley and Kellerman and Roy Jones Jr., they would often talk about the storyline being the promoter versus the fighter, or the last fight on the contract, but like in a very, relatively speaking, full-throated way.
Greatest gift to the weary traveler.
With the UFC,
Safe travels.
I just feel like they're going to they're going to pull a lot of criticism by virtue of the way in which they've got, it's just very weird that like the, Dana White and UFC brass are very much like, we don't tell people what to do. This is very much like, we want free speech in society and freedom and all this shit. And it's like, the minute anyone, either a reporter or a fighter, starts talking about the financials, they lose their shit. So, that's a bit of a tangent, but I'm just trying to point out that like what you're sort of citing here are a series of disparate problems, somewhat united by the fact that the UFC exerts a ton of control in a lot of creative and production directions. And so you can feel their weight a little bit, although, the decision to not fully hire Grisham or pass on Smith, these are tangentially but somewhat related to some of the other things you have pointed out. I would just say that like I think the UFC generally has a very good product, and I think in general they have a very good production product, right? Like how do you rate what they're able to deliver in that space? They're very, very good at it. I mean, it should be noted, but it's a little North Korea up in there, which I think causes problems. And they have a certain kind of sensibility about goofiness and fun that I personally don't share, and that you'll get a lot of different positive and negative response to. Would you agree with me that Stipe somehow started his career a tad bit late, so his physical prime and experience never truly reached the highest point? I mean, sure. I mean, the idea would be for someone in the future to have started some kind of combative sport application, or even a couple of them, at age 7 or 8 or 9, single digits, and then you build it up through that. And he didn't get to half of that until much, much later. Not sure if you've discussed already. I was wondering what you thought about Khabib's statements on peaks in MMA. Essentially stating that once someone has reached the top of their skill level and been beaten by the new contender, they cannot return back on top again. Interesting to hear your take since Aldo's recent run of form. I mean, these are... Listen, Khabib understands MMA in ways I never will. We'll see what kind of promoter he turns out to be. And I think that there is a certain candor that is almost seen as brutal that he employs, and that can be, there are some problems with it, but there is a certain, it's simplistic in ways that I think hurt it, but it's also sort of simplistic in ways that kind of honor the way in which you sort of see things play out. I mean, in general, what he's describing is more or less going to be true. Dude, getting to the top of any UFC weight class, especially on the men's side, but even the women's side too, it's going to be extremely difficult. Once, just getting there, which is why you see like a lot of very well-respected fighters, let's say like Rashad Evans. I mean, he wasn't able to defend the title. Dude, Francis's first title defense is going to be against Cyril Gane. He may not win that one. So like just getting there is exceedingly difficult. Holding that position for any length of time, 4 years, 2 years, 6 months, whatever it ends up being.
Isn't it?
Obviously, when you get to like the several year mark, that's when things start changing a little bit. Sorry, I got a guy doing a repair over here. Let's see who's texting me. The point I'm trying to make here is to answer your question about peaks at MMA. There is a certain amount of what Khabib was saying that is quite true. Like just getting there is hard, holding that is hard, and then once you lose it, it is very, very rare that you see someone get it back. I mean, for example, this is small sample size possible. I'm going to bring up almost anecdotal evidence, but it's emblematic of what he's kind of describing, where Cody Garbrandt goes from unranked to champion within a 4-fight span, but then loses it and can't really ever seem to get right. His situation has a series of very specific things related to him, but all of these situations have a series of specific things related to them, and yet you consistently see a pattern like that emerge. Most people don't have a period where they sort of trade with a contemporary up and down, or for long stretches of time or whatnot. But there are some counterexamples to this. I mean, Couture and Liddell would be a pretty strong one, right? Couture, the first time he goes up against Liddell, he spanked him. He beat him clean, controlled him. And then the second time they fought, So now Couture, was he still a champion at this point? Because he had lost it. No, late. I was later. The tables had turned, and he couldn't quite get back on top because Chuck Liddell was able to get back on top. So my point being is, Chuck Liddell, I think, was champion. Was he champion when Couture took it off of him? Let's double check that. I can hardly recall anymore. Let's see. So for old Chucky Chuck,
makes bold choices.
when he beat Chuck the first time, damn, I forget he fucking TK or KO'd Alistair. Oh no, I didn't forget that. I'm looking at the wrong resume. Hold on. So he lost to Couture for the interim UFC Light Heavyweight Championship back at UFC 43. Then he rematched him at UFC 52, slept him, and then did it again at UFC 57, right back to back when he defended the title. But the point being is, here he was with a rival where he got, the first fight is not very close. Neither the second or the third one, but you get the idea where you can get situations where contemporaries, can rise and fall. This is not maybe not the best example, but even the fact that you have someone like Couture who was a multiple-time champion in each weight class. Let's go to Couture here for just a second. So he grabs the title. The heavyweight championship. This is a different era too, but in '97, won it again vacated it, won it again against Kevin Randleman in 2000, so that's 3 years later. Then he won the heavyweight championship again in 2007. So within a 10-year span, he was able to go back on top. So it does happen. It can happen. It certainly is possible. However, I think the point to note is that, in general, once you see someone who has been at the top, look good for a little while, get kind of housed, can they get back on top? If they're very, very special, yes. But short of that, probably not.
Greetings, furless one. Watch it. Dava nearly stepped on Shugo's tail. Greetings, furless one. Fearless one.
What could you see becoming a big trend in MMA in 2022? I'm looking at hand fighting. I feel like many elite fighters, Volkanovski, Jan, Gane, Adesanya, Jones, use it much more frequently and purposefully than their opponents. I could see this becoming the new calf kick, something that's been around forever but suddenly becomes a focal point. I don't think there's any denying that you're going to see that. And by the way, I wouldn't call it hand fighting exactly. Hand fighting can be a little bit different. It is hand fighting. It's not saying you're wrong, but typically hand fighting, when it's described, is usually a little bit more, not always, usually a little bit more of a grappling context thing where someone has the back and you're hand fighting, or if you're, sometimes you can hear it in wrestling where you can peel a hand off of a collar tie, something like that. You see it in striking sports too. I don't want to say that you don't, but a better term is actually one that Barry Robinson uses that I've borrowed that I think is pretty good. Glove control. There's a better way to think about that. Because what they're often doing is it's, by the way, a lot of the principles are the same. It's the high hand that wins kind of a thing. But
Ion guide your path.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that. These guys will control rear. We've seen it with Volkanovski. He loves to get opposite stance, control the lead side hand, and then he knows what's coming essentially otherwise. Either get out of the way of it, get in front of it, but then use the fact that you've eliminated nearly 50% of the fighting conditions that this person can operate under, but just by controlling the hand, you could do a lot with that. You guys can see what he does with it. It is extremely potent. You're going to see more glove control, for sure. I said it on an MK yesterday, and I really kind of stand by it. You're seeing this. The Adrian Yanez is not a aberration of any kind in MMA. There's not many people who do what he does, or as well as what he does. He is certainly quite gifted. But what I mean to say is, these guys who sit in the boxing pocket a lot and have a boxing-centered game that they build pieces off of through their boxing. Max Holloway's another type. They take a bit more damage than I think they should, that I think will shorten their career over time, but they land a lot. It puts them in a winning position a lot, depending on their particular kind of sensibility, if they're high volume in particular. You're going to see a lot more of that too, but I think you're right. Glove control, absolutely. Hand fighting, of course, is a fine term. I don't know why I said otherwise, but usually when I think of hand fighting, I think of a grappling context. But any term you want to use there for controlling of the hands, controlling of the wrist a lot as well. It's not just the hands. And by the way, some of them can be like parries. Sometimes you can grab it because it's an MMA glove, but you can smack it down as well. So there's just a lot you can do about lead hands being stuck out with your own. And you're seeing the better ones really make a run with it. Khabib was 24 years old when he beat a prime RDA. At that time, Pettis was the champion. How many title defenses do you think he would have had before he was defeated or retired? Well, assume that was for the title. Oh, my kid's awake. I can't go with her. She woke up from a nap. She's all bitter.
That's the wrong target.
And she's specifically calling for me. Okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. See, this is why I need my own space. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Y'all hear that? Come here. Come here. Hey, what you crying for? What you crying for? What you crying for? What you crying for, huh? What's so bad? You had to take a nap? Huh? What's up? What can I do for you? What's up? Did you? What's wrong? What's wrong? Sorry, everyone, I have to. Otherwise, it'll be like this for hours. What's wrong? What's wrong? Huh? Yes, that's me. Do you want to say hi to everybody? You want to say hi? No? You're not ready to say hi yet? The answer is as long as he wanted up until... How would he have had before he was defeated or retired? I mean, if he had stayed with the same time length or time span, right? Whatever the dates were that he competed from beginning to end, and then you sub out him as champion at the same time that Pettis is, which I know is not exactly what you're asking, but it would have been something similar, I think. Maybe that's not exactly what you're saying. I'm just pointing out if he had been champion at that time, his record obviously would not have changed. I think he could have gone for quite some time. I would say several more years. Assuming he could stay injury-free. Several more years. But whether he would tie Demetrius Johnson or, you know, Silva's record or whoever's record at this point, whoever's got it, you know, I don't know about that. Are you feeling better? Yeah, you want to say hi now? That's a penny. Yeah, a penny. Okay. Need more? Daddy has to work. Let me finish this, and then I'll take you to the park, okay? All right. I love you, okay? Go with Lore. Okay. Te amo mucho. Okay. I'll see you soon, okay? Te amo. Just like that. Magic, bro. Also, she's already spent 2 hours at the park, but, you know, she loves the park. All right. This person writes, no question, just a thank you for all the hard work you've done for this year. Well, thank you. I don't like reading those, but I appreciate the messages. Congrats on the recent weight loss. Yeah, almost on 40. Almost at 40, I'm down. Can you believe that? What's your advice to someone who's trying to stay consistent with training/dieting or to stay consistent with long-term goals in general? I honestly, I mean, you know, listen, I've hardly got this all figured out. I mean, I'm not some kind of... you know,
Nice day,
I let myself go, so yes, I've lost weight, but I'm hardly the authority on any of these kinds of things. The only thing I can say for long-term goals is, one, you have to have a clear sense about what it is, like whether it's a weight goal or a financial goal or whatever whatever you're envisioning may be. You need to have an understanding of what that is, what it looks like. And I've said this before, the way in which most things are accomplished for most people. Some people get shot out of a rocket. Some people have extraordinary abilities. Some people are incredibly lucky. Some get all of those things. But for the vast majority of us, that's not really the way life's going to work. The way I've seen it work for myself and others is if you have a long-term goal or something you're trying to get to, what you need to not worry about is, geez, that seems so far away, I'll never get there. You've got to not think of it that way. You have to think of it as a series of daily or even hourly small victories, and it's the accumulation of the very small ones that add up to something significant. Moreover, if you are trying to lose weight and you are trying to go to the gym or whatever else you're trying to do, if that's really the goal, again, it's not financial or some other professional or personal goal, you need to also understand that, like, dude, if you're constantly in a sacrifice mode, you're understand something about your willpower. It is valuable, it is helpful, and in extreme cases, it can be very powerful. And for you, it's powerful. For me, it is powerful, but it is only powerful in short bursts, like when you really needed it right in a right moment. Not for like, gosh, I still have 6 weeks left in my mesocycle of training, I just don't feel like it anymore. Willpower won't really help you a whole lot if that's what you're up against. And so what you need to realize is you need something you can do at scale. What is something that is challenging enough to produce results, but not so challenging that it keeps you away from doing it day over day over day over day? Because if you can get small accumulated victories, whatever they may be, day over day over day over day over day, that will add up very quickly in ways that you had never imagined. And then you begin to be like, oh, right, this goal I had in mind seems so far away, and I'm not there yet, but I see, now that I've made some progress, you could begin to see how everything works together. Again, I'm not some expert on any of these particular areas. I'm not some expert on how success is in any way achieved. I've got a little bit I can speak for. I've seen it a little bit in the real world. I can only share with you what I have witnessed. But a big mistake a lot of people make is they're right to have goals, they're right to have dreams, and they're right to use motivation to get them there. But just motivation and just having a dream is just deeply insufficient. You cannot willpower your way to most goals, even if they're achievable. You need a plan, and you need consistent habits, and it needs to fold into your life in a way where, listen, some periods should be more challenging than others and will require more discipline and a little bit more willpower. But that willpower is just a little bit of the polish at the end. What about all the other work? That has to be woven into the fabric of your life. And the more it feels, like draining and difficult. It's like these people who go to the gym all the time and do nothing but like super high intensity workout. Again, dude, for your CrossFit donks or your guys who are, A+ athletes, I mean, do what you want to do with your life. But Sally, the paralegal, it's like, dude, you're not going to last at the gym if every time you go, it's a 9.5, 10 level of intensity. You just will not last. You will not last. It will not work. That's why sometimes when you go to jiu-jitsu, you need fucking tough days where you're crawling out there on your hands and knees. But they can't all be that way. Sometimes you need an easy day where it didn't feel so bad and you just drilled, and you have to have the range of experiences. So my best advice I can possibly give is pick a goal, make it concrete, look at it in your mind. Think of a plan of action to get there, and whatever that may be should be folded into the daily course of your life. Small wins, tiny sacrifices that accumulate over to something significant in the end. Question about Francis. If his leaving the UFC as a threat but wins the fight with Gane, wouldn't it be a void threat if his contract being extended another fight? I mean, yes and no, because it's possible that he could be extended in a way where he would have to squeeze in another, but no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Do you think Colby should pivot himself into a celebrity fighter and would be bigger star to be one, and this is why he's looking for a fight with guys like Masvidal and Dustin? I can imagine he may not want to go back at the back of the line and fight contender after contender, and the only way to maximize his personal income is to fight guys like that. I don't know what you mean, a celebrity fighter. Like, just give up on the idea that you can be champion? I mean, he's fought Kamaru 10 rounds. He's been dropped 3 times, but he's been pretty close, even considering that. Most fighters that you can name that are celebrities, there are exceptions, but most you can name are either champions or champion proximity. Even guys like Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis was champion proximity. He fought in a title fight. He's one of the top fighters in the world. Like, he's champion proximity. Those are the only ones you know, by and large. Those are the only ones that have a real following. So, pivoting away from that while he's under UFC contract, especially if he's good enough to win a title, I don't see that as an especially smart idea. What was your favorite part of 2021, both professionally and not professionally? Okay, professionally. Had to be that desk they built us. I said this yesterday. Dude, CBS. So, you guys don't understand is I've covered an event for CBS Sports twice. Once was that second Connor. Was it the third? No, it was the third Connor Dustin fight. I went for CBS Sports sent us. Most of the time when you see me and BC on the road, we're there for Showtime. So like Showtime handles the travel. It's for Showtime work. When CBS Sports sends us, it's not really for any of that. But they built us a desk in that July show, and that was just so fucking fun with the guys and the gals who showed up and were just happy to be there. And like I said on MK yesterday, we didn't even broadcast that to the house, you know. Like, there's so much more we can do with that. That was a fucking blast. And my cat had just died, and it was a terrible moment. And, you know, that was really rewarding. That was really rewarding. Not professionally, I have to tell you, with my daughter, I mean, maybe you guys are different than me. I'm certain that you are. But I mean it in this way. I didn't realize how many layers go into personhood. Right? Like, what makes a person a person? Many things, right? I mean, autonomy in modern society, the ability to speak language, to understand nuances, things like humor and anger and frustration and sadness and delight, right? I mean, and sort of situational, contextual awareness, you know, levels of cognition that get developed.
May Ariel's light
You don't
shine
realize how many little, tiny layers there are to that. And I have watched my daughter in the last year, so she's gone from about 1.5 years to now 2.5 years old. And in that, she's been not only just much more ambulatory, which is its own challenge, but dude, when you watch the layers of cognitive material and ability slowly build on each other as she develops them, because, you know, remember, she's starting from scratch. She doesn't have these things. So when she begins to use them, you see the order in which her body begins to develop these skills and then employ them. And it's just remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. I told the story before. I think my daughter went up to my wife. She doesn't really speak English to my wife. She only speaks Spanish to my wife. And my wife only speaks Spanish to her. And so she went up to my wife and asked for a bottle with milk in Spanish. And my wife was, you know, working on a phone or whatever. And so she just turned around and asked me in English. And we had never told her, we had never fully explained at that time that there was something different between English and Spanish. She just sort of intuited that was the case. And then, you know, the next time her grandmother called, she answered the phone and goes, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" You know, and I'm like, I didn't teach her that. And I asked my wife, did you teach her specifically that phrase? No, she just picked it. Like, these little ways of, like, introducing herself to the world. It's just incredible, man. It's incredible to watch them noodle this. And even yesterday, we got her the balance bike, and the first, like, day on it was terrible. By the next day, dude, you know, and every human has this capacity for obviously, you know, incremental and sometimes immediate improvement. But watching her brain slowly come together to produce, you know, more and more fascinating, difficult, complex tasks, and then to watch her personality get equally varied and dynamic. It's man, you know, it's so funny, dude, when you have kids, and dude, kids are not for everybody. Like, this is not like everyone should have kids. It's not what I'm saying. What I will say is the people who have kids have not done a great job of explaining to you why having kids is great. They've done a very good job of explaining to you why having kids can be challenging, right? The cost financially, the amount of time you have. Do you lose yourself in the process and everything, and all your Friday nights gone and blah, blah, blah. Everyone explains all of the bad parts. They don't tell you the rewarding parts. The rewarding part is that developing a relationship with a child like that is deeply rewarding and illuminating to me and fascinating and fun, and it's like, dude, it was like, why would you want to have kids? It's a blast. It's a blast. Like, would I rather, you know, or, I shouldn't say rather. Would I also like to have enough free time to go do a bunch of other shit? Yes, of course. Everything in life comes with trade-offs. But what they don't tell you is, like, why do people have kids and have families? Many, many reasons. Complex, social, religious, you name it. But another one is that having families are fun. That sounds like, I don't hear that argument made a lot to people, but it's like, it's my experience. And don't get me wrong, dude, I had a sleepless night last night. Like, these, I mean, look how fucking gray I am. These are not, these are not easy things to do, but rewarding, yes. No one ever tells you. But, you know, that's not an arrangement that everyone is going to want. Not everyone's going to want those kinds of things in their life. And they would rather live it in other ways. And I completely get that. I didn't even know I wanted kids until my wife really told me she was pregnant, to be honest with you. You know, I kind of did, but I was nervous. I mean, I think most people would say that. And then you have one, and it's scary and it's difficult. But, dude, it's great. It's great. Wanted to say your daughter is absolutely adorable. Thank you. Have you ever thought about including your family more in content? No, not at all. If the UFC want McGregor to fight for a title again so badly, would it make more sense for them to create a 165-pound division and make the inaugural title fight between him and someone like Diaz or Masvidal? Obviously, it'd still be silly, but it'd be better than letting him jump the line at 155. I'm not sure that it would be. You'd be creating a new set of problems to solve another one. First of all, if he gets a title shot at 155, how many of you Bamas are going to go, oh, well, you know what? UFC's really crossed the line this time. They gave a title shot to someone who has no business competing for it. I'm just not going to give them my dollars anymore. No one's going to do that. So what is the penalty for the UFC to do that? Now, why would they create a 165-pound division to solve a problem that basically doesn't exist? Could you predict your champions by each weight class by the end of 2022? I could not. Luke, I've been fascinated by your recent in-depth analysis and wanted to see if you had any advice on what the best way to watch a live modern MMA fight is. There can be so much going on between two fighters that often it's hard to know what one should be paying attention to, especially when it comes to striking. What dictates which detail you pay attention to moment to moment? Thanks for all the great content this year. Here's to a brighter 2022. Yeah, I hope it's a brighter 2022 for all of us. I will say this. Listen, man, I get this question in different forms a fair bit. I'm trying to find the best way to answer it, and I honestly think what I'm about to say is, at least for right now, the best thing I can think of. You should watch an MMA fight in the way that you most enjoy. Honestly. Like, when you ask what's the best way to watch a modern MMA fight, I do think it's a good question. But it's a good question that needs a little bit of clarification. First thing I would ask is, well, for who? Who are we talking about? Are we talking just random fans? Are we talking about people who need to do tape study? Are we talking about people who want to learn more? These are not all the same kinds of people. They're going to watch things a little bit differently. Now, I think what you're probably mentioning and talking about here is fans. What do fans do? What should an educated fan do to watch MMA? How should they pay attention to it? And again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. In whatever way you get the most enjoyment out of. I want you to think about how you're watching a fight. Are you watching in person or not at all? These are, or I should say, in person or on television, because those are going to be two different scenarios that will have very different answers about what kinds of things you're valuing and looking for. If you're talking about at home, watching it on your screen, again, what way do you like to watch it? Keep doing that. Do you have other people? Are you able to hear the commentary? You know, everyone's going to have a way that they like to consume the product. I would recommend you keep doing that. If you want to learn a little bit more, then I think you have to make a couple of choices about how you watch. If you really want to learn about what's happening, first, go train. Qualified instructor, qualified gym. Oh, Jesus. Give me a second, everyone. Give me a second. I have to hit an intermission here in just a second. Hold on 1 second. I've got this guy doing construction here, so I got repairs I have to do. Give me 1 minute. First thing I would do if you want to learn a little bit more, you could obviously train. You should read as many things as you can read about footwork and everything else. Anything that's relevant to increasing your level of understanding.